Finally, we've made it to testing about population means. If you'd like to, pause the video right now and fill in what you think you can on your own here, especially like the plan, maybe the do. What the heck? Give it a shot. Think you can even use the example on the backside of this as a guide. But we're basically going to be doing everything we've already been doing. Nothing is going to be changing too much. So we're going to always make sure to state a hypothesis, the null and the alternative, and make sure you're going to be defining your parameter mu. Of course, the three conditions: random to make sure we have an unbiased estimator; independence, make sure your sample, your n, is 10% less than your population. And the third one, for means, it's a little bit trickier. First, check to see if your population is normal. If your population is normal, then your sample distribution will also be normal. If it is not stated a normal population, then check the central limit theorem. The state says, long as your sample size is sufficiently large, and we read that as being 30 or larger, then you can assume a normal distribution. And third, just graph it. If there's no major skew nor outliers to a graph of your sample, and this is pretty broad, then you are fine and you can proceed with a one sample t-test. So notice this is going to be our t, not our z, test for means. We've reached the do. Can you believe it already? Calculate the test statistic. A test statistic measures how far sample statistic diverges from what we would expect. We've already seen this when we did proportions, only now our test statistic is going to be t instead of z. For means, the test statistic will look like this. So we've got our test statistic. It's going to be your the mean of your sampling minus the mean of your null hypothesis divided by S. It's really important that you understand what S is this time. So it's going to be the standard deviation from our sample. Unlike proportions, we can't use the null hypothesis to calculate our standard deviation because we don't know the standard deviation of the population. So there's no way to use that as a predictor. So we'll use the next best thing, which is the standard deviation of the sample, which, by the way, is what caused the issues with the t distribution and the t adjustments that we have to make. We're going to conclude with the p-value in one of these two statements. If our p-value or our proportion from our sample, our probability of our sample is less than our set alpha, then it's so small we need to reject that null hypothesis. There's evidence that's to suggest that, and we want to make sure that that is in terms of your alternative in context. Or we're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis, and there is not sufficient evidence to suggest that whatever HA was in context. Now we're going to look at some examples of this in class together. I'd rather we do it together than you sit through a boring video. But on the back side of these notes is a worked out example. So this is exactly what you would need to do. Your null hypothesis, your alternative, your alpha is set to 0.05 unless the problem asks for something else. Mu, the average age at which American men get married for the first time. So always make sure, I'd say this is probably the number one thing that students forget, is to define that parameter. You've got to define it. Okay. Then we've got the plan. We can see for this one, it's random, that we're told that 10% rule or independence. All right, it's less normal, large sample, central limit theorem. We've got 40 in our sample, so we're good to go. And then since the conditions are met, we can use the t-distribution. So notice this one says t-distribution, not the normal distribution. And that's because we do have an idea about our population and degrees of freedom. You don't have to mention degrees of freedom here. You can mention it in the do, but it has to be written down somewhere. And we'll proceed with a one sample t-test. You can see that our do includes the normal curve, the correct shading for your t-value, or you could do this instead with your mean and then your sample mean over here. So you don't have to convert it to a standardized graph, right? And it looks like the probability of the red area is about 14%, which of course is greater than, so we're going to fail to reject for this problem. All right, so we failed to reject. There's not sufficient evidence. So what type of error would we have made if we're wrong? This would have been a type 2 error. This is a type 2 because we failed to reject the null hypothesis when actually it was the alternative that was true. So not good. That's type 2 error.